Hey, it's me.
Yeah.
Dick Cavett is a man with a lot of experiences. He's seen and heard a lot. The world knows him for his respected career in television. Across 5 decades, his TV interviews were and are fascinating. Nobody could engage a guest like Dick Cavett. Also a comedian, columnist, an 11-time Emmy nominee and 3-time winner. It's with great pleasure I say these words. Welcome, Dick Cavett.
Hello, who is this?
I'm sorry. That's really childish. Hello to you too, sir.
Well, it's a great pleasure to welcome you. I decided that for this interview I should kind of keep it spontaneous.
Well, I think that's good. What, by the way, how do I address you?
You can call me Paul.
I can.
Yes,
I
sir.
have permission. Okay, good.
And I'll call you Mr. Cavett.
You can call me Mr. Dick. I'm sorry.
You know, something that occurred to me when I was watching a lot of your interviews is how much do you think humor helped you as a television interviewer?
Well, I think it makes all the difference. I mean, who wants to hear something devoid of humor? But we do get the chance all the time. Yeah, I think it's great help. It's I sort of started out to be a comedian-magician combination when I did my magic act in high school. And humor makes the difference. Oh, by the way, I'm in a slight state of shock.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I looked up the show and what was available that you can listen to and all that stuff. And then my eyes fell upon the following words. I just watched and am beyond disgusted with Paul Leslie and his wife's actions. Truly vile. Now, my question is, were you wearing clothing during these actions, you and your wife, or just what the hell is this?
Clothing? I mean, we're mostly clothed. I'm not sure I
don't know how old this incident was, because then as I went to find more, I clicked it away and haven't found it back again. Did you have a scrap on the air with somebody? Or
a scrap?
Yeah, a fight, fisticuffs.
No, I'm pretty docile.
Oh wait, here it is. Your so-called Deputy Paul Leslie. Maybe it's not the same Paul Leslie.
No, I don't think that's me.
And his despicable actions. Oh, it can't be. It's DeSoto County.
No, that's not me.
Isn't that interesting that it's there under your name, though?
Yeah, there's
So
what's that?
I was going to say, if I were writing a paper about you, I would have to say one side of him is his despicable actions with his wife on television. Shall I send you the link for this?
Please do. Please do.
Yeah, I will. Okay.
You had me on the edge of my seats. I thought, my gosh, what did I do?
We always assume we did it, whatever it is. Let's see. Let's see if I can. If nothing is delivered, I'll just get on a bus and bring it down to you. This must be great excitement for the listener.
It is a first. We had
a man typing. Okay, I can finish this later.
Okay. Well, I'm sure. I have faith I'll get it and find out what this other Paul Leslie was up to.
Yeah. Okay, brace yourself, because with one flick of my finger, I think it's coming. The address was not recognized. Because of this phone or something. It's whatmail.com.
Gmail. G like
D for diversify.
No, G like grand.
Oh, B.
No, G like Georgia.
As in Georgia.
Yeah, Georgia on my mind. Gmail.
This is really exciting, isn't it? We could start talking while I fool with this.
We could. We had last week Daniel Baldwin of the famous Baldwin brothers, who admitted he did.
Yeah.
He admitted he had done the interview in the nude, and we have now the first time ever on this show that the guest emailed me during the interview.
The guest wasn't sitting beside you at the time.
No, he admitted. He admitted halfway through that he was in the tub. He said, "I'm in the tub, by the way." Well, on that note,
Hold a second. I need a hand free to hit a key.
Okay.
Okay. And then B as in boy.
It's G, like grand, Gmail.
Oh, as in Georgia.
Yeah. At gmail.com.
Okay, here comes the G, the M, the A, the I, the L, the dot, the C, the O, and guess what? The M. See if this lands in your lap.
Let's see what happens.
Your message has been sent. Okay. Do you want to hang up and call back tomorrow?
No.
Oh,
wait a minute. Dick Cavett. Yes. You've sent me an email. Okay.
Yeah.
I got it.
Please let me know the outcome of this, because I almost had to call my manager and say, do I want to go on a show with a guy whose wife and he perform unspeakable things on television?
That was not me. Not any.
My kind of people, but it's not his. Okay.
On that note, do you regret or miss not being on TV?
Not all the time, fortunately. But every so often I see something that I frankly think I could have done better, or something I probably would have done worse, but might learn from it. And remembering how nice it is to get the applause and see the audience looking up and grinning at you and loving you, and with exceptions, of course. Yeah, but it doesn't. I'm not such a showbiz baby that it eats my heart out. No.
Well, how do you think you would fit in with today's host, the Jimmys, Jimmy Fallon, Jimmy Kimmel, all these? How do you think you would fit in these days? What do you think your place would be?
I was going to pretend I've never heard of those names.
Ooh.
I've been on both of their shows, come to think of it. I don't know. I might. Tell me what you think. People have urged me to do a podcast. And I love other people's podcasts that I've been on, like Gilbert Gottfried's and I don't know, 4 or 5 others, some of whom I don't know.
What do I think?
Seems like kind of a nice exercise in sitting and talking and getting people to develop and display their follies and their good parts. I was on Alec Baldwin's first podcast, I believe. Yeah, he came out to the country and we did it there. And I can't pretend that 100 people have said, you must listen to it. It's just wonderful. Obviously, like podcasts do, it's still there, apparently. And we really hit it off and we got so funny we broke ourselves up. And sometimes that's more amusing to the people breaking up than to the audience, but apparently this one was really a good one.
What do you think of Alec Baldwin?
Oh, he's a dreadful person. He's just... Oh, Alec Baldwin.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about the transsexual Alice Baldwin, who used to work at a club in the village. That's actually true. There used to be a drag club in Greenwich Village right next door to the legendary Hungry Eye. And sometimes the girls and the boys, and whatever combination of those was available in those days, would come in and see my act and give me tips and tell me what was funny, and we had good times together. I don't know if it's still there. What its name was. Man, this is an exercise in memory here. It had a witty name, that's all I can promise you. But Gilbert does his show from his living room, as you may know, and under a huge portrait of Groucho Marx. It's nice.
Yeah.
It's a nice place to be.
I think you could do a podcast, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you asked me what I think your place would be. I think it would be, there's a lot of people that are just all just completely and totally fact-finding and no humor. And then there are other people, it's all humor, and it's like they're just ragging on the person. And I think you would be the perfect blend of the two.
Well, I may marry you. That's good to hear. It's always good to hear something that's praising rather than goodbye forever, Mr. Cavett, which I get from time to time. Have you ever heard me tell about the prize bit of hate mail that I got from Waco, Texas?
I have not heard this.
It was years ago. And I came in the office and my secretary had something she kind of slid under something else. And I said, oops, something you don't want me to see. And she said, no, I guess it's all right. And she pulled out a stamped envelope, delivered, opened, and sort of reluctantly gave me the page to read. And I don't know what controversy it was mad about. Or maybe I'd had Jane Fonda on the night before, or a couple of nights before, something, time this letter to make it to New York. And it was hard to forget. It was Dear Dick Cavett, which is nice to begin with. You little sawed-off faggot communist shrimp. Now, I took that as negative. But maybe I'm just sensitive. Little sawed-off faggot communist shrimp. That's a lot. By the way, there was a return address, and I wrote back, I'm not sawed off. I wonder if they got it. Anyway.
The rock singer David Lee Roth, he once said that the first time he got hate mail, he realized, I've made it.
He realized what?
That he had made it.
Oh.
Someone felt passionately one way or the other. He realized, I made it.
Yep. Yeah, that's a sign that you're now part of the big boys club. You wonder about the people. I had an idea once, and I'll always be sorry I didn't do it. Because I got a lot of nasty mail because I sort of debuted on television at the time of everything controversial of the decade, Vietnam and everything else, and assassinations and threats and murders. And I thought of taking the very nastiest ones. I'm surprised Letterman or somebody hasn't done this, and go to their house. You know,
that's
ring the doorbell, and what would you get? Hello, is your mother home? Mom, there's somebody here at the door. Who is it? Tell her it's Dick Cavett. Dick Calvert. I don't know who it is. You know what I mean? The possibilities are endless of what reaction you'd get. And including, oh my God, Dick Cavett, my favorite. It could be a really funny thing.
It could be very interesting, yes.
I guess it would be physically conceivable if you were, say, doing a show in Hollywood and pick out 8 male from the immediate area. You don't want to have to go to Broken Bow, Nebraska to possibly strike out.
Of course, if you did an audio format, either radio or podcast, you could also just call them.
Yeah, this is so. Hey, you know, perhaps the next time we speak, I will have done that.
Or maybe we can get them on the line as we talk.
Yeah. Sort of like putting yourself out as a punching bag. Seems okay to me.
You were just mentioning Letterman a moment ago. I know he's got this monthly deal, but do you miss Letterman as he was, which was a daily part of the public?
Oh yeah, I always liked I like going on his show, and I like watching it. See if it's still online. Dick Cavett, Eddie Murphy, David Letterman.
All right.
If it is, you'll see one of the funniest things you've ever seen.
Let's see.
In fact, you could check now and see if it's there.
Let me check here. Let's see.
Yeah.
Dick Cavett, Eddie Murphy, Letterman.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Would this have been August of 1985?
God, I don't know how long it was.
Okay.
It might very well have been.
Yes, it is online. Thank you, Internet.
Wow. Well, you will laugh at that. I suppose the highlight was when I presented Eddie as a complete surprise a package of Darky toothpaste, which you can buy in Asia all over the place. And he said, "Oh my God! Look, there's a brother on here in a top hat, and he's got the biggest smile." Oh God, I miss him. I haven't seen him in a long time.
You know, it's occurred to me, he's from the Midwest. You're from the Midwest. Carson was from the Midwest. Do you think that there's anything to that?
I don't know, because I figure you could probably think of a number of comparable people who weren't from the Midwest. But there does seem to be something possibly about the fact that the accent, which is erroneously referred to as the Midwestern no accent, it's the Midwestern accent.
Yeah.
It does seem to be more commodious or easygoing for people. But I don't think that's really enough to explain it. But it's possible. I think I've seen people maintain this. They were talking about the network newscasters, the network evening newscasters, and saying, you notice they all have that sort of Walter Cronkite, and they would name at least 4 or 5 who were from Ohio or such places. I don't know if anybody was from farther west than Nebraska, but possibly.
At this point in your life, would you say that you're more living a leisurely life, or would you still say it's pretty busy?
Well, it's more leisurely in the sense that nothing compares to getting up at 7 or whatever in the morning, looking over your notes for that day that you also looked over last night but we're too tired to comprehend them, fall into bed, get up, breakfast, notes, go to the studio, spend the day figuring out the show, and then all you have to do after a day's work is go out and do 90 minutes of television and come home and read the notes for the next day. And yeah, that's pretty well wall to wall. Yeah, anything that's not that is leisurely.
I mean this in not the place Hollywood, but the concept of Hollywood. Do you think that Hollywood is elitist?
Gosh, that's the sort of question that would never occur to me. But I feel I need somebody to handle it for me. I suppose in ways it is. I don't know what it has to be elitist about. But if you can send me a list of things that it's elitist about, I could answer you. Yeah, I know there's somebody who thinks in terms that I don't, who could much better answer that for you. How's that for a chicken way of getting it?
Well, let me ask you this. Do you think that in general, people who pursue the entertainment or the public, a very public life, do you think that they are more of followers, or do you think that they are more of independent type people?
Gosh, I don't know how you would find the answer to that without examining them personally, as well as how you see them on the air or in their films or whatever. I don't know, or if they're elitists from Hollywood. Oh, so let me forget this. The great John Cheever, great American writer, he was on my show several times, and died a couple of years ago. Somebody asked him in an interview, how do you like it when you have to go out to California? And he allowed us how he hated it. And what he said was, when I'm out there in the Beverly Hills Hotel or whatever, and I wake up in the morning, I have to go instantly into the shower to keep from hanging myself. I sort of have that feeling about the place, too. Although I had a rather happy time out there for about 6 months working for Jerry Lewis, and another improbable development in my life. There's much to entertain you out there, and if you have a few friends, you can take it. But I wouldn't want to be put to that test of living there, even though I did for 6 months.
What was it about it that didn't suit you?
That didn't what?
That didn't suit you.
I don't know, it's sort of cheesy looking, and just a lot of junk lines the streets. There are obviously very beautiful parts of it too. Beverly Hills and Brentwood, and those places where illustrious movie people live, are quite lovely. But I don't know, the atmosphere of the place itself, the rotten weather, the smog, I don't need those.
I wanted to ask you about your friendship with the great filmmaker Woody Allen.
Yes.
What do you think about Woody Allen? What do people misconceive about him?
Well, I'm amazed how many people are willing to misconceive as if he has been found guilty of something. He has not. He was never tried for anything. He was never even put up for what we call it when you've got enough evidence of somebody to, and the district attorney type who said, I wanted to go ahead with accusation and so on, but I didn't want to hurt the little girl. show me a prosecutor who gives a damn about a little girl if he thinks he has any chance of winning a case. And that's actually a botched quote from a lawyer friend of mine. That, he said, is chicken. So and the moronicism of so many people out there, you know that he's a convicted child molester, somebody wrote. No, he isn't. And wasn't convicted and wasn't tried. Otherwise, you're perfectly correct. The marriage between him and Mia, people talk about. They were never married. The whole string of these things. It slightly amuses me to think of the brave actors who have sworn publicly they'll never work with him again. An idiot view of that is, how do they know they were going to be asked to work with him again? But he's a great filmmaker. He has not been anything but accused and had allegations. Those were scrupulously vetted by the New Haven experts in child matters of this sort for weeks and weeks, and gave him a clean bill of health. And so that whole story supposedly was put to bed back then. You don't want to run afoul of the Pharaohs. No, the Pharaohs have become a kind of hit squad on what he dedicating their life to bringing him down. And that is unfortunate. And I would say his work will outlast theirs.
Yeah. What about the guy himself? What is Woody like when you're around him?
Oh, talkative, obviously educated, well-informed, doesn't ever crack jokes, as people say, but says brilliantly funny things. And I always kick myself I didn't immediately write down, as with Time Spent with Groucho. Why didn't I wear a wire? Many things are lost to the world because I didn't.
Did you ever interview a female guest that was so attractive that it was distracting to interview her?
Do you have anyone in mind?
No, I'm just wondering.
Oh, did I ever have attraction to the guest become a difficulty in keeping my head level and talking with her?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Next.
Okay. You don't want to name names?
Well, because I'm so afraid I'll leave 5 or 6 of them out. You know?
I got you.
Yeah.
I wanted to do like a little name association. If I named someone or something, and you just kind of say the first thing that pops into your mind, a little anecdote, whatever, as short.
That could be dangerous. Okay.
Okay. So, John Lennon. The first thing that pops into your mind when I say John Lennon.
Accessible. Easy. Feel like you've known him before. Do you know the name David Frost?
Oh, yeah.
Some people watching my Lennon show, sometimes I check in to see how many viewers there have been on YouTube, and watching the show originally, were probably puzzled a little when at a certain point he said, "Dick, what's your definition of love?" We had spoken earlier, a couple of weeks earlier, about our mutual lack of admiration for David Frost, and that was Lennon's way of making me laugh and, in an ornery way, puzzling the audience. But and now Alec Baldwin, wherever we are, and he sees me before I see him, gets his chin almost on the back of my shoulder and says, "Dick, what's your definition of love?" Frost had these 3 dopey questions that he asked every time. And that was the one that annoyed me and Baldwin. And I would think a lot of other people, certainly John Lennon. The great Peter Cook, British comedian, great friend of mine, who died a few years ago. From Beyond the Fringe, Peter Cook and Dudley Moore. Google anything on your computer that has Peter Cook and Dudley Moore, especially one called A Bit of a Chat, where an Edwardian sort of father falls into having to discuss sex with his young son. And it's one of Cook and Moore's masterpieces. A Bit of a Chat. Anyway, where was I? Frost. Oh yeah, Peter Cook, who died a few years ago of alcohol, was asked by the BBC or the London Times, I guess it was, what regrets do you have about your life looking back? And he said, only one major one, really. I once saved David Frost from drowning.
Oh,
and it's the truth. At a producer's pool up in Connecticut, and Frosty apparently stepped into the wrong end, and not being a skilled swimmer, had to be lifted out by his hair, assuming it is his hair, by Peter Cook, who regretted it the rest of his life. They all hated Frost. He stole their material.
What about Joe Franklin? What's the first thing that pops into your head when someone mentions the late Joe Franklin?
Norman Mailer. Because Joe had Norman on more than once, I guess. And maybe this was the only time. And dear Joe wanted to make it clear that he knew the world of books as well as Norman. Not as well, but you know what I mean. That he was no stranger to books. And to prove it, said, War and Peace. That was a big book, wasn't it? And Norman said, yes, big in many ways, yes. And then he said, Pollyanna, the little girl who liked everything. That was a smaller book. Yes. So, and at that point I had to go out and do a show, and I missed whatever the rest of the conversation was. A big book and a little book.
What misconceptions do you think there are about Dick Cavett that the public may have?
Well, that I'm an intellectual. That's death. Don't get the tag intellectual stuck to you if you're going to be in television. I could never figure it out. I mean, I knew people who were genuine intellectuals, and I felt kind of sad that people would think I was, if that's what being an intellectual amounts to. And I could almost prove that I'm not. I'm not sure how. But that always irritated me. The only intellectual on television, someone would say on the sidewalk. I would want to put my hand over their mouth. But I think I pretty much survived. It's a sad comment, really. I mean, I don't think Buckley was much of an intellectual, but there are people who are. And I had some of them on, and a philosophy professor from Yale, and stuff like that, whenever I thought I could sneak it in.
What do you think they get right, the public, about you?
Get right?
Yeah, what do you think is maybe a conception that the public has about you that is in fact correct?
Well, I'm always it's hard for me to know who the public is. I mean, there's a snaggletooth little creep who comes up and slobbers on you on the sidewalk, or is it the late Adlai Stevenson, for God's sake? I really don't think the word public is useful. It includes murderers and...
It is very vast.
Yeah. I didn't do very well on that one.
That's okay. Maybe it wasn't a good question on my part.
You never know. Never admit that.
What would you say the secret of living a good life is?
Good God, man.
That's a Frost question.
You knocked me off my chair. Wait a minute. Hold a second. I happen to be swallowing coffee. And thanks to you, expelled about half a cup of it through my nose onto my computer, which fortunately is shut.
I had to shake things up.
Aren't you ashamed of yourself?
No.
Just a rapid shot of coffee. I think you really ought to come over here and offer to clean this up. How many miles apart are we, by the way?
Well, I'm down in the southeastern United States, and I assume you're up in the northeast.
I'm pretty much in New York, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, at the moment, Connecticut, but yeah, I'm in the Upper East group of folks. Sometimes I wish I had lived more places in America.
Like where?
I like the Southwest. I also like the Great Plains. And in fact, I did grow up in the Great Plains, but I didn't appreciate them until I left and realized that Buffalo Bill had lived in my state and that Crazy Horse and Sitting Bull and all the Big Sioux had probably crossed what eventually was my house when it was bare land. As a kid, I wanted to be an Indian, and I remember the patience with which people tried to convince me that you can't really do that. And I didn't see why not. Or start over as one. I think I made my parents feel guilty for having me born and live in civilization. A teepee was more my speed.
Having a pulpit like Twitter, you have 18,100 followers, and you're following 13 people. What do you find that experience is like, where you're able to instantly communicate with the masses like that?
Are you saying what I have?
Yeah, you have this following on Twitter. You can instantly communicate with people. Anyone out there, by the way, it's at the Dick Cavett. And
you know what, I have trouble with Twitter, and part of me hates the whole business, but I don't know where to find the replies.
Uh-huh.
Isn't that pathetic?
No.
No. Partly pathetic. I'm trying to get myself up to Twitter here.
You mean up to Twitter as in learn all the ins and outs?
Well, just where am I supposed to look for replies? Sometimes they seem to be there, and sometimes there are none. Just a column of all the stuff you've written or whatever.
I think under your tweet, if you click on the little word bubble, it'll show you all the people who've written back.
What? I'm looking at it now. Me and Anthony Quinn sitting there. Sure, it's Anthony Quinn. And now I'm on tweet, which I don't want to hit, of course. Where under there or whatever are...
So you'll see the most recent tweet, need medical opinion. Can heel spurs move to the brain? And then...
Yeah, that is the most recent.
And then you'll see...
Yeah.
Under that, you'll see... I fumble with it too. I started to click the little word bubble, but you actually click the little down arrow that says more.
I did? I was not aware of that. Right now, tweet is standing cleanly in the clear. And did you say move the cursor to the right and bottom of it?
No.
There's nothing there.
If you click the actual words, like somewhere in the sentence, like can heel spurs move to the brain, click
Right.
one of the words and bam, it'll show you.
Okay, I'll click spurs.
And you'll see different people, like, I believe we now have clear evidence is one person's reply. There's a total of 39 replies.
It doesn't tell me that. It tells me, oh yes, it does, sorry, 329. A like is a reply?
No, a like is just...
But this says 329 likes.
Yeah, and 39 replies.
And where do you see? Oh, down here. So,
I'm tweeting a reply right now.
all I've got is a blank blinking. You got to help me.
If you...
What do you boys do in the afternoon? Oh, we go to tweet. Teach Dick what to click.
How would you define Dick Cavett?
That's a question for Mel Brooks. Mel Brooks did. I'm gonna deck the question by using Mel's definition of me. Spectacularly Gentile. Well, I'm faced with 60 retweets, 329 likes.
Mm-hmm.
Those goofy pork round things.
Pork round things?
Yeah. People's faces in them.
Yeah, those are the replies. Those are people.
But if I click on the second one from the left, then I get her replies.
You'll see the most recent one is for me. It says, we're talking about this right now.
Oh, my God.
That's me.
Exciting.
At the Paul Leslie. That's me.
Wait a minute. I lost the column. How did I get here? I go up around where it says tweet. Compose new tweet. We don't want that. How did I get that? I've lost you. How do I get back to you? Here's the heel spurs tweet.
Mm-hmm. Now click with your mouse on any of the words. Like, for example, click on the word spurs.
Oh, yeah.
Click that.
So that's likely to be the most likely word. Now, are you telling me that each of those portrait circles or chocolate chip things are I can get an answer on?
I don't know. I think that those are the people who liked it. Those little bubbles.
Like yeah.
But then if you...
wait a minute. Shannon Leary just came up.
Shannon Leary.
We must be giving her a surprise.
Shannon Leary. I see her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's nothing there to indicate that she's answering me.
I think she's just liked. She's
a liker.
She gave your approval. But you see... What are you seeing right now?
Shannon Leary in an oval, the sky, tweets 8,382, following 2,933. How can that be so small? What's following mean?
Following means that they are one of you have 18,100 people who are reading what you write.
Where do you see that?
I'm seeing tweets 451. You wrote 451 statements or tweets, if you will. You're following 13 people. And then followers, it says 18.1K, 18.1 thousand.
Oh, well, I've gone up.
Yeah.
And I rarely do this. Think how big I could be if I did it more. I see. Oh, yeah. Now, I'm into other people's stuff now. So I think I'd like to go back to my world. Where I feel comfortable. Feel I can swear and do all sorts of things. thank you. You've given me a boost in my knowledge of this.
My pleasure.
Yeah. I should have met you sooner.
Anyone out there, if they want to follow Dick Cavett on Twitter, it's at the Dick Cavett. They can also visit dickcavittshow.com, Cavett. I remember staying up late at night when I was about 9 or 10, and I told my parents, I said, I've been watching this guy, these shows late at night. It's called Dick Cavett. And my parents just laughed at me. And all these years later, here we are.
One of the few things about being known is I don't have to be Cavett quite as often as I used to be. Do you get my show on Decades?
I don't, but I do access them from YouTube.
But you don't have Decades.
I don't.
Everywhere I go, people say, loving your show on Decades. It's not, I guess it's not carried everywhere. They're still growing, but I'm on 5 nights a week, and usually with another play during the day in the morning.
I see. I just looked it up. It's decades.com.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, one of the first things that shows up on there is you.
There you go.
How cool.
Wow. Boy, I changed your life.
Well, in closing, do you have any words for our listeners? Anything at all?
Let's see, you mean words to live by sort of thing?
Whatever.
Yeah. The Frenchman La Rochefoucauld. Should I do it in English? Yeah.
Sure.
We can all find something not entirely displeasing in the misfortunes of our friends.
Gosh.
That's a sweet one, isn't it?
I like that. Well, sir, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
I guess we both have to go back to our nap now.
How did you know?
You do this very nicely, Paul. This was not even painful.
I have to say, you made me completely and totally relax.
Oh, my God, that's good.
Yeah.
Well, watch out for pickpockets while you're completely relaxed. I have so much good advice. Okay, well, perhaps we shall meet again.
I hope so. Until next time. Have a good
Don't be a stranger, you hear?
I won't. Thank you very much.
Paul. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.